So the Queensland Government has banned ACP that has a polyethylene core. Let's have a look. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Heiser Says. I have my stein of coffee, and I thought today we would look at, or tonight, we'd look at a media release from the Queensland Government, how they're banning some aluminium composite cladding, particularly the PE-based cladding, or the cladding with the PE core, polyethylene. And an example of that plastic, one of the most popular plastics in the world, incredibly useful, would be shopping bags. Shopping bags. You know, you don't think they're really fire resistant because they aren't in the slightest. They aren't in the slightest. So Queensland is following on from other states to ban this cladding entirely from buildings. And let's have a read through here, then have a little bit of a talk about it. So the Queensland Government to ban combustible cladding. Combustible cladding is set to be completely banned on all new Queensland buildings following industry support for proposed new regulations that were discussed at yesterday's Ministerial Construction Council. Minister for Housing and Public Works, Mick DeBrenny, proposed the new regulation as part of a two-pronged approach to provide a lifeline to the states certified caught up in a shrinking insurance market. Okay, so this is a response to the issues with regards to the ability for certifiers to get professional indemnity insurance. Now, I recently did an interview with Grant Mason, a insurance broker, and he spoke on this issue about the difficulties of finding this. And there have been other professions that have gone through similar things, even architecture. That's why the Institute of Architects started up their own PI insurance brand, or arm, to actually ensure they could get insurance for their members. So the combustible cladding ban would extend to all aluminium composite panels with a PE core of greater than 30%, and it would restrict usage across all buildings in Queensland. All buildings. Now, it's my one concern with this. Well, no, there's a few things to discuss about it. It seems like a good solution, but it's going to be a complete ban. And there's some applications where the product is fine, it's completely suitable, but they're going for a blanket ban. What that tells me is that we're failing in other areas where the government has to come in and completely ban something. You know, boom, putting the foot down. It means other parts of the process are failing. Other parts of the construction process are failing. Other checks and balances, you know, ensuring imported product meets what it said it is. You know, ensuring that there's no corruption or swapping out isn't getting met. So this is like the final nail, the last resort, really, getting to this point. Because I mean, sure, this stuff isn't appropriate to put on, you know, cladding up the side of residential high-rise buildings where, you know, someone could be smoking and catches on fire. But using it to clad on a shopfront sign on a box with, you know, some LEDs in it, so your sign only costs a couple of grand instead of even, you know, double that or triple that. It's fine. The risk there is very low. It's all to do with an understanding of risk management. But if people don't do it properly, nanny government comes in, and then, you know, we lose all the fun. We take the fun away. So when things like this happen, it tells me other steps in the process have failed. So Mr. DeBrenny said the proposals would help to protect Queenslanders, but called on the Commonwealth Government to protect Australians and introduce an importation ban on all aluminium composite panels with a PE core. Okay, I mean, that sounds good, but remember, we already have restrictions on asbestos coming in, but Gyprock has come in with asbestos that meets requirements overseas but doesn't meet Australian requirements. We've had wiring come in with the whole Masters wiring debacle. You know, that's fine over there, but doesn't meet our requirements. So, you know, will the docs actually stop it? Will they actually check it? That's another question. It sounds good. It sounds good writing it here in a media statement, but actually the day-to-day is a completely different thing. So I've made numerous calls on the Commonwealth to ban this combustible cladding at the border. They can't keep dodging this responsibility to the people of Australia, he said. This is an opportunity to both reduce risk and back Australian manufacturing jobs, to which Prime Minister Scott Morrison should be jumping at the chance. And again, I call on Minister Karen Andrews to urgently address the issue at a national level, as the retraction of the insurance market has to be rectified by the Federal Treasury. The proposals discussed at yesterday's meeting include also requiring certifiers to declare that combustible cladding hasn't been used and that there hasn't been any product substitution during the construction process. Okay, this is it here. This is the issue. Right here. Right here. And I've discussed this as well about La Crosse Tower. Product substitution. And let's have a look. We'll have a look now at just an example of this type of cladding here. We'll have a look. Now, I just pretty much typed in the cladding with a polyethylene core. I don't know who this company is. I've never used them. But I thought it'd be good to show people what it is. I mean, here you've got metal core panels. You can see here in the picture at the above, and you can see the little design here, the core. They're extra lightweight. Now, you'd think they'd be good as well because they've got a fire protection standard. But the problem is the glue they use to hold these together can also catch on fire too. And we deal with trade reps who you specify their product, because the prices in this stuff varies greatly between manufacturers. You've got a Lucabond who are another brand, and say you specify a particular product from a particular manufacturer that has a rating and it has a core that's got no PE in it at all. Solid black core, fire retardant, everything's beautiful, never going to burn. They've tested it themselves. But then the builder comes along and says, "Oh, I've got an alternative product that's half price." And they talk to the developer, they talk to the project manager, they talk to the architect, and they say it does exactly the same. Look, here's this piece of paper that says it is. What can you do? What can you do? Because testing paperwork can get fabricated, it can be fraudulent as well. So let's have a look at the ACP core. So that's the thing. As an architect, often you can be the bad guy saying, no, sorry, no substitute, no substitute, no substitute. And then if we get back to the method of procurement, if it's a design and construct where you're working under the builder, so you're working under the builder, maybe you originally worked for the owner of the building, the developer, and then after the sketch design stage you were transferred to the builder, now you're working under the builder and they want to substitute. You can't talk to that original owner anymore. Your method of communication is gone. You can make complaints and write letters and these type of things, but you could end up getting fired or you could end up losing work. So the whole process has fallen down, and this product substitution that they've mentioned here is a big thing. But let's have a look. This is a picture here of the cladding, and you can see it there. It has the polyethylene core to it, and I think this picture here shows it as well. And you can see it's lightweight, it's cheap, and it looks pretty. It's fine, it's light, it's reasonably strong, it's easy to use. You can get some good quality 3M tape and fix it down. But what's the usage for it? I'd say signage, interior design in areas where you're not worried about combustibility. Maybe shopfront cladding outside of an egress path. So, or even a counter. What if you want to put it on the front of a desk or something in an office lobby? All of those will probably be banned or be not allowed. So, aluminium composite panel. Here's a solid one. Let's have a look. Expanded panel. Oh, yeah. Metal core panel. So here you go. These ones too. So we'll see what happens with that product as well. So, yes, that's... And this isn't a sponsored video. I'm not picking on this manufacturer, because just because the material is no longer allowed to be used in Queensland doesn't mean it doesn't have other applications that are perfectly suitable to it. Perfectly suitable to it. Okay, so let's have a look back at here now that we're familiar with it. So the challenge is, when a substitution does occur, is just identifying it and approving it, and it can slip through. So you have to be, as an architect, you have to be very vigilant and be the bastard. But what if you're not, you're cut from the part of the project, for budget cuts, to actually go out and review the work. You're no longer engaged to supervise that portion of it, and maybe a project manager that isn't as familiar with the jobs or the technical aspects of the job. and or just sees the price difference. Oh yeah, these look the same, looking at a sample, and approves it. So it can get very messy. And that's where we're getting to this point. That's where we're getting to the point where the government is just doing an outright ban, because it's gotten really messy, and it's all to do with the way stuff's procured. It's all to do with responsibility. It's all these wonderful things that we have to deal with in this industry. So, and the manufacturers are really pissy too, because you talk to them, they tell you what to spec and show you the product and say, yeah, this one meets all these requirements, perfect for what you want. Or there could be a risk there. Why don't you look at this one? And then they lose the job because a cheap imported product that doesn't have the same performance requirements that you've specified gets put in. So the other key solution to help certifiers proposed by the Queensland Government during the industry meeting was to allow certifiers to remain licensed while they hold professional indemnity insurance featuring cladding-related exclusions. Well, yes. I mean, that makes sense. Mr. De Brenny said the ban on combustible cladding paved the way for the Queensland Government to allow certifiers to hold PI insurance with exclusions. By banning combustible cladding on all new construction in Queensland, it means there doesn't need to be an expense for certifiers in the form of exclusion-free insurance. However, allowing insurance for exclusions is a time-limited solution that provides the industry with immediate confidence to continue operating. These proposals are designed to ensure that jobs growth in Queensland doesn't slow and construction industry practitioners continue to remain in the industry. Yes, well, you know, we all know where the economy's heading right now, at least the Reserve Bank's perspective right now. But that, you know, this video is about cladding, Florian. It's not about the economy. It's about cladding. We've already seen insurers attempting to cut and run from the market by withdrawing their insurance products, and that means they escape their obligations, and that's not on. This has put at risk hundreds of thousands of jobs in the sector, and it's got the potential to impact homeowners who would be left holding the can if they have to pursue litigation with dodgy builders. Certifiers provide a level of protection for homeowners, and we need to keep them in the industry. Well, also their certifiers are getting old. They're getting old. You talk to certifiers, they're getting a lot of responsibility put on them, and okay, sure, I think they get paid pretty reasonable for what they have to do, but the risk-reward ratio needs to get weighed. And it's not an industry everyone wants to be in, you know. It means that as of today, the 400 licensed certifiers in Queensland will continue to be able to work tomorrow. And that means our record on job creation will continue, okay. You know, however, subject to stringent conditions. Sure, job creation. Job creation will continue. I'd hate to be a importer of this stuff who's got a warehouse full of it sitting there. What are you going to do with it now? What are you going to do with it? Where's it going to appear? What can you use it in? I mean, it looks fine. It's a fine product. But you don't want it on the outside of buildings. Are they going to allow it for interior products as well? The restrictions are part of the immediate term resolution of the issues to be followed by a suite of longer-term system reform approaches, including continuing to pursue a national ban on the importation of dodgy cladding. That's not going to address it. I mean, that's showing a lack of understanding of what you're suggesting here. It's to do with the way this is all procured. Prime Minister Morrison has a chance here to rebuild confidence in the industry and back in local manufacturing by banning dodgy cladding that fails community standards. But in the meantime, we've had to impose extra requirements on the sector. Yesterday's proposal followed a number of weeks' discussion with industry leaders on solutions to the certifiers insurance issue. A Prince Waterhouse-Coopers report released by the Palaszczuk government yesterday shines a light on the effects caused by the deregulation of the Australian construction industry. Building industry professionals from architects to engineers and building certifiers plus developers play a pivotal role in ensuring the built environment is safe and fit for purpose. Mr. De Brenny said PwC's analysis showed the issue was not limited to Queensland, but a national issue affecting the building industry in all states and territories. I'll probably read through that report. Queensland has continued to work with industry on this issue, he said. I'm committed to ensuring the viability of Queensland's building and construction industry, and am invested in ensuring the most appropriate and considered approach is taken to this situation. Queensland has led the way on behalf of the Building Ministers Forum for permanent labelling of aluminium composite panels, reducing the issues found through investigations around product substitution. But whilst Queensland leads the nation with building industry reform, there's still more work to be done. Okay, I mean, yep, I mean, good that they're doing it to ensure that our certifiers can continue to operate. I think they're just touching on, I bet you this was brought in from their meeting with the industry, and it was a little glimmer of understanding of the reality of the processes there. A little glimmer of understanding of the reality of processes. Because that's the problem. You can do all the work, and it can be substituted out by a dodgy builder in a company that disappears, and you're left kicking the can. Or with La Crosse Tower, where the certifier was expected to notice that the cladding the fire engineer was expected to notice that the cladding that was put up had a different label onto it to what was specified, which is pretty tough to realize when you're going around checking for a whole lot of things. But I guess this will highlight these issues with them. So guys, what do you think? What do you think? Do you think this is fair? Do you think it's unfair? Maybe just a ban on residential buildings. But I mean, the thing is, we already have legislation in place that doesn't allow material that don't meet performance requirements to be installed in particular situations. This PE core stuff doesn't meet any of the fire requirements anyway, and that hasn't changed. That's already been well known, and there's certain places you can't put it, and it shouldn't be put there. Okay? So the system is already failing. It's already failing. So, more legislation to combat failing legislation, sure, just a complete blanket ban. There'll probably be a period where people still start to try to sneak the stuff in if they've got it, but the fact that the certifier has to say there's no substitutions, I think that's the best thing out of all of this. But you know what will happen then? They'll just get people to put performance-based product specifications where they're not specifying a particular product, just performance requirements, and then they'll say, oh, close enough to that, wasn't substituted. That could be a way to get around it. Anyway, guys, please let me know what you think. Like, share, and subscribe. Have a stein of coffee on me, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.